everyone. Today we are going to continue with the chapter 8, How do organisms reproduce. In this chapter we have already completed the topic that reproduction in flowering plants. In that I told you after fertilization changes occurs in the pistil as well as we can say that the changes occurs in the flower. The floral parts which have participated in fertilization, now they are of no use after fertilization. So we say that after fertilization the changes occurs in the flower are, just have a look over here, changes after fertilization, or we call them as post fertilization changes. It can be also called as post fertilization changes in flower. Here we are talking about the flower. So what are the post fertilization changes? That means when fertilization has taken place, zygote is formed, then what will happen? The sepals, they wither off. That means they shed off. But in some fruits, sepals are found attached with it. For example, brinjal. Okay. So, and in some tomatoes also you have seen some sepals are present. But in brinjal, sepals are usually present. Okay. So, we find sepals on the brinjal. Okay. So, we say that in some flowers or when the flower turns out to be fruit, in some fruits sepals are attached, but in most of them sepals gets dried up and they fall off, or we say wither off. Then second is petals also, they dry and wither off. That means they shed off after drying because they are of no use. They have played their role of attracting insects for pollination. Then after that, androecium, or we say that stamens. Stamens are also of no use. They have done their work, pollen grains have been formed and fertilization process has occurred. So, androecium also gets dried. Now, what will happen? Only the carpel is left in the flower part, and this carpel, ovary in carpel, or we call it as pistil, it changes to fruit. Ovary changes to fruit, and ovary contains ovule. So this ovule in ovary, it changes to seeds. So we call seeds as the fertilized ovule and we call ovary as a fruit. So these are the changes which occurs in a flower after fertilization. Now what will happen? What happens to the seed? So now we just go through the structure of a seed. Here we are talking about the seed. So to study the structure of a seed, we have to first soak seed in water so that the seed covering can absorb the water and it becomes moist. Then what will happen? The upper covering is, after it has absorbed water, it becomes moist and it can be easily peeled off. When we remove the covering over it, we find two structures present inside. I am drawing the diagram, just have a look. If I am talking about the gram seed, so this gram seed is what? It is a dicot seed. That means it has two cotyledons. Now if I draw the diagram, in this way, okay, so this has a thin covering around it. Gram seed has a thick covering around it. When it is soaked in water, then this covering flowering, it absorbs the water and it becomes moist. Okay, so there is a small hole over here on the apex part. After it has absorbed the water, okay, it becomes a swollen, then this hole can be clearly seen. This hole is called as the micropyle. It is meant for the entry of water inside because it is a small hole through which seed is attached to the fruit. Okay, then this seed coat, this outer covering of the seed is called as seed coat. When we remove the seed coat, there are two layers of seed coat. The outer one is thick and inner one is a very thin membranous layer. So we say that seed coat is two. Number one, the outer, it is thick, and second one is the inner, which is very thin. The outer thick coat is called as testa. The outer thick coat of the seed is called as testa, and the inner thin membranous layer, or we say membranous coat, is called as tegmen. So we say that the seed coat consists of two layers. The outer one is testa and inner thin membranous layer is called as the tegmen. The seed coat helps to cover the seed, okay, and helps in protection of the seed. Now when we remove the seed coat, when the seed coat is removed, internally we find two structures. These are called as cotyledons. Because the seed, gram seed is dicot, so we have two cotyledons, 1 and 2. So these are called as cotyledons, and cotyledons are meant for storing food for embryo. Because after germination, the embryo divides, and for division and increase in the growth, embryo requires the nutrients, and this nutrient is provided by the food stored in these cotyledons. Okay, so this was about the cotyledons. Now when we open the cotyledons, when we are opening the cotyledons slowly, then what we find that, if I draw the diagram, if the two cotyledons are open, then if we draw the diagram, then internally there is a small structure connecting the two cotyledons, which is very small, and it is white in color, or we can say colorless structure, which is present joining the two cotyledons. This is called as the embryo. When the seed is soaked for some time, then what will happen? This embryo, it gets differentiated into two regions, the upper region and the lower region. First of all, the development of the lower region occurs. That means this lower region developed first than the upper region. Okay, now this lower region is called as the radicle, and the upper region is called as the plumule. Now what is the role of these two, radicle and plumule? We know that when seed germinate, a new plant is developed, and the new plant, or we say the plant, has two regions, the shoot region and the root region. Okay, so this plumule, it rise to shoot system. It gives rise to shoot system, that is stem, leaves, flowers, whatever it is. And radicle, it gives rise to root system. So in this way, the growth of the embryo results in differentiation of plumule and radicle. Plumule further give rise to shoot system and radicle give rise to root system. So you have seen when the sprouts are formed. During that time in sprout, first of all, leaves are not formed. You can easily find out the structures, root-like structures in the sprout. And these roots develop first because seeds require, or we say the embryo require water for dissolving the nutrient present in the cotyledons. So first of all, radicle develops. This radicle forms the root, that is the primary root or the main root. Then later on, when the food is utilized, shoot is formed, that is plumule is formed, and then plumule give rise to the shoot system. So this is about the structure of seed. Now we continue with the sexual reproduction in human beings. Now we are going to discuss about the topic sexual reproduction in human beings. In human beings, we know that the life of the person, or we say the life of a human being, it begins when the person is infant, after birth. After birth, what will happen? The size of the body increases, or we say the size of the organism increases. Then the child starts developing. From infant, the person, or we say the organism, changes to a child. From childhood, the changes occurs and that organism develops into an adolescence. It comes into the stage of adolescence. And during adolescence, different changes occurs which makes the person, or we say which makes the child different from the child and convert the child into an adult, means mature person. Child is what? It is the means in the childhood, the changes occurs during the adolescence, and the adolescent time is the very crucial time in which many changes in the body occurs, which makes that person to change into an adult. During adolescence, the changes which occurs are, you can see over here, the changes occurs in both girls and boys. So first of all, we'll discuss about the changes in the girls, then in boys. Okay. So here we say that adolescence. Adolescence is what? It is the stage of life in which the changes occurs which convert a child into an adult, a sexually mature adult, or the person who can sexually reproduce. These changes occurs just because to help that person or to make that person to reproduce. That is, these changes are meant for reproduction. Now see here, adolescence here, what are the changes in females, and side by side we'll discuss about the changes in males. Okay, so here we discuss about the common changes. The first thing is that change, or we say increase in height. Increase in height. In both male and female, the increase in height occurs. Second is change in voice. Due to the Adam's apple is there, okay, which develops, and there is change in the voice. You have seen that the voice of boys, it changes, it becomes harsh, okay, and then comes development of muscles means their body become muscular. Then there is change in height. Increase in height is just because of the increase in the length of bones. Okay, it is just because of the increase in length of bones. Bones length increases, then automatically the height of the person increases. Then over here, change in voice, development of muscles in the body. Then shoulders become broad. This also in boys. Then sweat gland and oil glands becomes more active, which causes acne. Okay, pimples or acne on the face or on the skin, and this occurs in both girls and boys. Okay, so and over here there is production of gametes occurs. That means during adolescence time, reproductive organs becomes completely mature and they start producing the gametes, which makes the adolescence, or we can say this adolescent stage makes the child into an adult. So these are the changes which occur in male and female, and these changes are very essential for making the person reproductively active. Now, what are the organs of reproductive, or we say the reproduction organs in males as well as in females? We just go through it through the diagram. So students, here you can see the diagram of male reproductive system. Okay, so now first of all I'll explain you the male reproductive system, then we'll discuss about the function of these different parts. Okay, male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes. These are the reproductive organs in male. They are present right from birth, but afterwards it become mature, that is during the adolescence time. Testes become mature and start producing sperm, and sperms are produced by the testes throughout the life. That means from adolescence till death of the male, sperms are produced. But the sperm count, or we say the number of the sperms, may increase or decrease depending upon the nourishment taken by the males. Second thing is due to any disease or disorder, or it may affect due to the hormones. If the hormones are not secreted properly, then also the sperm count is decreased or it may increase. So these are the factors affecting the sperm count. Now first of all discuss over here. See, you can see over here that this is the testis. I had marked over here testis. There are two testes. That means we say that testes are present in pairs, and testes are found, or we say it is located outside the abdomen, or we say outside the male body, and testes are located in a sac-like structure called as scrotum. Testes are located outside the male body in a small pouch-like structure or sac-like structure, which is called as the scrotum. Now what's the role of scrotum? That scrotum is the sac-like structure and it is present outside. Okay, when the male child is near about 7 months, means in the mother's womb, when the male fetus is of 7 months, during that time, before that, testis is present or it is located inside the abdomen. But when the male fetus, it complete its 7 months, then testis descends into the scrotum, or testis comes into the scrotum. This thing is the step of development. Okay, so if during the developmental phase testis comes in the scrotum, then that male is sterile permanently. It It will not be able to reproduce or not be able to produce the sperms and all. Okay, so this is the first reason. Second is that testis is located in the scrotum, so that the sperms require near about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius less temperature than the body temperature. Our body temperature is 37 degree. Okay, 37 degrees Celsius is the body temperature, and testes require near about 34 to 35 degrees Celsius temperature for the production of sperms. When the temperature increases more than this 35 to 34, if it increases 34 to 35 more, then what will happen? The sperms will not be produced properly, or the sperms are not mature. Okay, and that person is not able to reproduce. So this is very essentially required. That means the temperature plays a very important role, and to maintain or to provide the low temperature, testis is located outside in the scrotum. Now this testis is connected with a thick coiled tubular structure. This is a thick coiled short tubular structure which is called as epididymis. In testis, sperms are produced, and after production the sperms are temporarily stored in epididymis. Then from epididymis a tubular structure arises which is called as vas deferens. This vas deferens, it takes the sperms into the abdomen, from where it receives the secretions by the seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles pour their secretions in to the sperms. Okay, so the sperms which comes over here, they receive the secretions from the seminal vesicles. They get the nourishment from the secretion of the seminal vesicles, and then this make them to swim. Then there comes the prostate gland. It is present near the urinary bladder. At the mouth of the urinary bladder, prostate gland is present, and this is connected with the vas deferens. Now later on this what happens? This vas deferens is connected with the urethra, and urethra is the common duct for ejection of urine as well as to release the sperm out of the male body. So now here we see what is the male reproductive system consists of. Testis, that is one pair. Then comes the epididymis. Testis produces a sperm. Epididymis stores the sperms for temporary purpose. Then afterwards sperms comes out from the epididymis, enter into the vas deferens. Vas deferens carries sperms into the abdomen, where vas deferens, or we say the sperms, receive the secretions of the seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles secretion provide nourishment and helps the sperms to move. Then the prostate gland is there. Prostate gland helps the sperms to swim. Then it enters into the common duct, that is the common ejaculatory area, that is called as the urethra. Urethra is the common passage for sperm as well as for urine. Okay, so this is the structure. Now here one by one we look at the functions. First of all, testis. Testis are two. Sperms production occurs in the testis. Then comes the epididymis. Epididymis is over here. It stores sperms temporarily. Then from epididymis sperm enter into vas deferens. Vas deferens is the passage of sperms to the abdomen. Then this vas deferens is carry the sperm into the abdomen, where secretions of seminal vesicles are there. Seminal vesicles, they contain fructose which provide energy to the sperm. Then from here the secretions of prostate gland is provided to the sperm. Then prostate gland nourishes and activates sperms to swim so that they can move out of the male body. Okay, so now this is the urinary bladder. From urinary bladder, urethra is there, and this vas deferens also joins the urethra. That means now urethra is the common exit for sperm and urine. So this is the male reproductive system, and over here is the scrotum. As I told you, scrotum is the pouch-like structure in which testis is located, and it provides suitable temperature temperature for sperm production, that is near about 2 to 3 degree less than the body temperature. This is about the male reproductive system.